This is the legend of Layla and Majnu. Once, a boy of exceeding beauty was born into the family of a noble sheikh. He was named Qais, and as he matured, it became obvious to all that he would one day become a source of great pride to his family and tribe. Even from a young age, his knowledge, his diligence, his learning, and his speech outshone that all of his peers. When he spoke, his tongue scattered pearls, and when he smiled, his cheeks wore violet tulips awakening to the sun. One day, Cass met a girl so lovely that he was instantly struck with a yearning he could not understand. Her name was Layla, meaning night, and like the night, she was both dark and luminous. Her eyes were those of a gazelle, her lips two moist rose petals. Layla too felt an emotion for Case. She could not comprehend. The two children were drowning in love. Though in their youth, they knew not what love was. It was as though love were a wine barrel, filling the cups of their hearts to the brim. They drank whatever was poured for them and grew drunk without understanding why. Case and Layla kept their feelings secret as they roamed the alleyways and passages of city markets, close enough to steal a furtive glance and share a giggle, far enough not to arouse gossip. But a secret such as this cannot be contained, and a whisper is all it takes to topple a kingdom. Case and Layla are in love, someone said on the street. Layla's tribe was furious. Her father removed her from school and banned her from leaving her tent. Her brothers vowed to ensnare Case as he ever came near. But one cannot keep the baying hound away from the new moon. Separated from his beloved, Case wandered from stall to stall, from tent to tent, as if in a trance. Everywhere he went, he sang of Layla's beauty, extolling her virtues to whoever crossed his path. The longer he went without seeing Layla, the more his love gave way to madness, so that soon people began pointing him out on the streets, saying, "Here comes the madman, here comes the Majnu." Case was made. It's true, but what is madness? Is it to be consumed by the flames of love? Is the moth made to immolate itself in the fires of its desires? If so, then yes, Case was made. Case was Majnu. Clad in rags and stripped of his sanity, Majnu left the city and wandered aimlessly through the mountains and wastelands of the Hijaz, composing mournful odes to his absent beloved. He was homeless and tribeless, an exile from the land of happiness. Good and evil, right and wrong, no longer had anything for him. He was a lover. He knew nothing but love. He abandoned reason and lived as an outcast in the desert, his hair filthy and matted, his clothes tattered. In his madness, Majnu came to the Kaaba. Pushing through the crowd of pilgrims, he rushed at the sanctuary and hammered upon its doors, shouting, "O Lord, let my love grow. Let it blossom to perfection and endure. Let me sing from the wellspring of love until my thirst is quenched. Love is all I have, all I am, and all I ever want to be." The pilgrims were appalled. They watched as he fell to the ground, heaping dust on his head, cursing himself for the weakness of his passions. Majnun's actions shamed his family and tribe, but he himself knew no shame. When he heard of Layla's arranged marriage to a man of untold wealth named Ibn Salam, Majnun lost all sense and reason. Tearing off his clothes, he crawled naked to the wilderness like an animal. He slept in ravines with the beasts of the desert, eating wild plants and drinking rainwater. He grew famous for his love. People from all over the land sought him out, sometimes sitting with him for hours as he spoke of his beloved Layla. One day, while he was idly reciting his verses to a captive audience, a scrap of paper, borne by the wind, landed on his lap. On it were written two words, Layla and Majnu. As the crowd watched, Majnu tore the paper in half. The half on which was written Layla, he crumpled into a ball and threw over his shoulders. The half with his own name he kept for himself. "What does that mean?" someone asked. "Do you not realize that one name is better than two?" Majnun replied. "If only you knew the reality of love, you would see that when you scratch a lover, you find his beloved." But why throw away Layla's name and not your own?" asked another. Majnu glowered at the man. "The name is a shell, and nothing more. It is what the shell hides that counts. I'm the shell, Layla is the pearl. I'm the veil, and she is the face beneath it." The crowd, though they knew not the meaning of his words, were amazed by the sweetness of his tongue. Meanwhile, trapped by the restriction of her tribe and forced to marry a man she did not love, Layla was plunged into a lonely darkness. She suffered as deeply as Majnu, but did not have his freedom. She too wanted to live with the beasts of the desert, to declare her love for Majnu from the tops of the mountains. But she was a prisoner in her own tent and in her own heart. When one morning a traveling merchant brought her news of Majnu, Layla felt like a reed swaying in the wind, hollow and weightless. "Without your radiance," the old man told her, "Majnu's soul is like the ocean in winter's night, whipped up by 1,000 storms. Like a man possessed, he roams of the mountainside, screaming and shouting, and there is but one word on his lips, Layla." "The blame is all mine," Layla cried, flinging curses on herself. "I am the one who has set fire on my lover's heart and reduced his being to ashes." Desperate, she removed the jewels from her earrings and handed them to the old merchant. "These are for you. Now go and Majnu and bring him here. I only want to see him, to look upon his face for a little while, to bathe in the light of countenance for but a moment." The old man agreed. For days he searched the desert for Majnu. When he finally found him, he relayed Layla's message. "Could you not bring yourself to break your vows of separation from the world to look upon her tearful face, just for a second?" he pleaded. "Little does anyone understand me," Majnu thought. "Do they not realize that their idea of happiness is not mine? Do they not see that while it may be possible for them to have their wishes granted in this life, my longing is something else entirely, something that cannot be fulfilled while I remain in this transient world?" But Majnu could not resist the opportunity to look upon the face of his beloved. Putting a cloak, he followed the merchant to a palm grove and hid there while the old man left to fetch Layla. As the merchant led her by the hand to the grove, to Majnun, Layla's entire body trembled. When no more than 20 paces separated her from her lover, she froze. The old man tugged on her arm, but Layla could not move. "Noble sir," she pleaded, "this far, but not further. Even now I am like a burning candle. One step closer to the fire, and I shall be consumed completely." The old man left her and went to Majnu, pulling him out of the palm grove. He brought the boy, his face drained of color, his eyes glass under the moonlight, and pointed him toward Layla. Majnu stumbled forward. Light from the stars peeked through the tops of the palm trees. There was a movement in the darkness, and suddenly, under the dome of heaven, Layla and Majnu faced each other. It was only a moment, a rush of blood to the cheeks. The two lovers stared at one another, drunk with the wine of love. Yet though they were now close enough to touch, they knew that such wine could be tasted only in paradise. A breath, a sigh, a stifled cry, and Majnu turned and ran from the grove back into the desert, vanishing like a shadow into the night. Years passed. The leaves on the palm trees lost their color. The flowers shed their petals in mourning. As the countryside turned yellow and wan, and the garden slowly withered, so did Layla. The light in her eyes dimmed, and with her final breath, she breathed her lover's name. When Majnu heard of the death of his beloved, he rushed back home and writhed in the dust of her grave. He lay down and pressed his body to earth as though in prayer, but his pursed lips could utter only one word. He lay down and pressed his body to earth as though in prayer, but his pursed lips could utter only one word: Layla. Finally he was released from his pain and longing. His soul broke free and he was no more. Some say Majnun's body lay on the top of Layla's grave for months. Others say years. No one dare approach, for the grave was guarded night and day by the beasts of the desert. Even the vultures that swooped above the tomb would not touch Majnu. Eventually, all that remained of him was dust and bones. Only then did the animals abandon their masters to loop back into the wilderness. After the animals had gone and the dust of Majnu was swept away by the wind, a new headstone was fashioned for Layla's tomb. It read, "Two lovers lie in this one tomb, united forever in death's dark foam, faithful in separation, true in love. May one tent house them in heavens above."